had a face-to-face meeting in Ethiopia with his longtime political rival Riek Machar. The meeting in Addis Ababa was at the invitation of Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. This is the first time in 2 years that President of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, and opposition leader Riek Machar met face-to-face. Ethiopia is attempting to encourage the two leaders to stop the war that has ravaged the country since 2013. The two leaders were signatory to a peace agreement in 2015 to totally end fighting, but is yet to be fully honored. Riek Machar fled South Sudan in June last year, citing insecurity. Recent efforts to revitalize the peace agreement by the Intergovernmental Authority for Development, IGAD, has not influenced any ceasefire. Joining us now from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia is our correspondent, Colletta Wanjohi. Colletta, thank you so much for joining us on The Globe. Now, the meeting in Addis Ababa, did it achieve its objectives? Is there a workable deal on the table to bring lasting peace to South Sudan?
Well, what we can say is that there was no different policy that was set today when the two leaders met. It was just a personal invitation from Ethiopia to the two leaders because of the fact that Ethiopia is the chairperson of the Intergovernmental Authority for Development that has been brokering the peace talks, the South Sudan peace talks, since 2013. So Ethiopia just brought itself forward to try and bring the two leaders to try and understand that they need to come together for the sake of their country. Ethiopia and South Sudan have history. Ethiopia hosted the rebel leader, opposition leader Riek Machar for a long time while during the war, and they expect that these two leaders will try and understand, because Ethiopia is really bearing the brunt of the South Sudan war, because Ethiopia currently is hosting more than 400,000 refugees from South Sudan. It needs it to stop because it's getting the fast, if we can call it, the fast effect of the South Sudan war. Now, so what Ethiopia was doing was just to bring them together, and the meeting happened about 2 hours ago, and they had dinner together. So we are hoping that it will soften the tension a bit.
Now, Colletta, with regards to the meeting and the details, do you have any details on what was finalized, if anything?
No, there will be nothing new. We're not expecting anything new. We're just expecting the leaders to meet and understand that they need to end this peace talk together. I mean, to end the war together. What was discussed is the fact that they were reminded that they began the war. The war began because of the two of them, and they need to be the ones to end it. Because at the end of the day, it is these two forces, the government and the opposition side led by Riek Machar, that have bigger forces, military forces on the ground that have been fighting for a long time. So it was just a reminder. We are not going to see a new deal or something new being signed and all that. No. Just a reminder to the two leaders that they need to live up to their bargain.
Now, how much has the war in South Sudan affected its neighbor, Ethiopia, especially, with regards to today being a World Refugee Day?
Yes, it is vital. It's very significant because Ethiopia has to come out from the current brunt of the South Sudan war, because hosting over 400,000 refugees in a region where even the 400,000 exceed the number of residents that are living in the Gambela region, which borders the South Sudan. That is a heavy burden for Ethiopia, because at the moment we have donor fatigue. Not so much is coming in from the international community. So Ethiopia has to remove most of its money, yet it is also fighting different humanitarian crises because of weather conditions and all that. So Ethiopia needs to help out and come to the forefront if at the end of the day the refugees will go back home. If you go to the refugees, the situation is really bad. If you go to the refugee camps, people really want to go back home, but they don't know how. They don't know when. You have people as old as 70 years in refugee camps. They say, why did I have to run away? Get away from home at 70? Where am I going to go? So at the end of the day, the refugees want to go back home. And this can only be done if Dr. Riek Machar and President Salva Kiir really come to an understanding and commit to the agreement they signed in 2015, and at the end of the day, trigger better action back home.
Now, very quickly, Colletta, when Riek Machar, the opposition leader, leaves Ethiopia, where is he off to? Is he returning to South Africa, or is he going back home to South Sudan?
That's what we are all waiting to see, because we remember that a few weeks ago, the IGAD Council of Ministers lifted the house arrest that he had been put under since late last year. But interestingly, he has a house around here. There's a place where he comes wherever he comes, and that's the place where he stayed for or close to a year during that time. And when he came, that is where he went when he came. So we're expecting that probably for the same, because Ethiopia has come out to really bring out, be the one to hold the olive branch between these two leaders. Probably it will allow Riek Machar to stay here because they need him during the peace talks, and it is better for him to stay within the region. So Ethiopia might be the option where he stays. I don't think he might come back to South Africa, but Ethiopia might be where he might stay. But we are yet to see, because tomorrow the IGAD summit, all the heads of state from the IGAD region are meeting here in Ethiopia, and probably they will pronounce themselves to that, because they were supposed to give Riek Machar a third country outside the region, but we are yet to see. Maybe they will soften a bit because they need him to really tell his forces to cease the war.
Colletta, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but this is a developing story that we're all watching very closely. Thank you so much for that update. That was our correspondent, Colletta Wanjohi, joining us via Skype from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Time now for a quick break. More news on